Yeah, like the fact that you want to destroy a whole society and you haven't even watched all their porn yet. It's like, come on, man. You know, put some
What if
respect on
what
our name.
could possibly be the one porn that turns it around where he's like, oh shit, what's that movie where like
It's like the Citizen Kane of porn.
yeah, like there's no
What's the one? Where at the end the guy goes anal?
there's
What does he mean? What does
there's
he mean by anal?
Rosebud. Is that a code word for a butthole?
Yeah,
Yes, it is
yeah.
actually. No, but there's a movie where like
Glory hole.
oh god, there I
Glory
know
hole.
I'm thinking of a real thing where the villain suddenly like sees it's like the Grinch or something like that, like where like all the plans were to destroy the world, but then he sees like the love of a little kid and his
But are
mom
you
or some shit
talking about
like
like
that.
that's kind of like the Fifth Element, where they're like, "Oh, I get it. Oh,
Yes.
have you got into
Yeah.
L? It's a good letter. It has love."
Yeah.
And then, which is like the dopest line to get a chick to bang you. I feel like that's Billy, like he literally Billy Corbin was it Billy Corbin? Is that his name? That's the character's name? I know it's
Corbin Dallas.
Corbin Dallas.
Yeah,
So not Billy Corbin.
multipass.
So Corbin Dallas literally throws the "I love you" card to get laid. Like that's like the epitome
The
of
world is ending. It's like he needs to say something.
imagine if he was like the commitment phobe. And he was like,
Tell me
"Have you
you
got
love me and the whole world will be saved. I mean,
I like you.
I love you as a
Things about
person.
you. I love
Yeah.
things about you."
I love that about you.
What if he was like, "Have you got into the L? Have you got into L? There's a lot of good words in there, like, like a lot,
Yeah. Like a lot. Yeah, like a
lots of
whole
likes."
a lot of like.
Hello,
Hello.
hello, what's up, bro?
Hey, it's the What's Up Bro podcast. We talk movies, sports, TV shows, pop culture, and it's funny, motherfuckers. With nary signs. I'm like, what? How can this? They have Photoshop. Photoshop exists when this artist rendition was done. How the fuck is this not cooler looking than a sketch that looks like it was done by a hillbilly off the side of the road? What the fuck are we talking? Why is this a thing?
Welcome to the party, pal.
Steph, Uni Mayor Senior.
Yeah, I don't have to look for you.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
And Mike Markadal.
I'm just glad I like vanilla boring sex like this. I'm glad that the sex I enjoy won't get me killed.
That's how winning is done.
Hey, I'm Dave Chappelle, and this is What's Up, Bro.
All right. And we're recording and we're live. Welcome to the What's Up Bro podcast. It's been a minute.
It has been a minute.
It has been a minute. I am Nary Signs. With me, as usual, is Mike Throat Punch Mercadal.
What's up, bro? Throat punch. I think that's gonna be it forever now, right?
Throat Punch.
That's
It was either that or Donkey Punch. And I was like, you know what? I think
Nah.
Throat Punch is more respectable.
Also, throat punch. It just reminds me of the scene in The Matrix where he goes to punch him, but he misses. But then he goes, go, like he goes, like he hits
Oh,
him
yeah.
in the throat, and then he
and
goes.
Yeah, it's that extra little finger. It's like, oh, wow.
It's such like an obvious overacted moment of martial arts, like fuckery of like martial arts.
Oh,
movies,
this hurts. Like, that does not hurt.
And then it's like, oh man. Tune into Kick Flicks for more takes on martial arts movie fuckery.
Martial arts movie fuckery. That should be a good segment. What's the martial art movie fuckery of this movie? Like the one time where you go, this is out of it. I can't. This is so much bullshit. I'm out. what was I gonna say? Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while. Last time we did an episode. Last time I did an episode was me and Missy. Missy came back for an episode.
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that was cool. And
Flashback, throwback.
and yeah, Stephanie is MIA. I guess we don't know where Stephanie is. So let's play.
She's okay.
Let's play. Where is Stephanie?
Yes.
To our new listeners, this is what we do on one of our hosts. When somebody's missing, the remaining hosts play what we think where we think they are.
Yeah. What could they possibly be doing that is giving them cause to not be here in the most important thing that they have scheduled for the week, at least?
Of course, at least.
What
Well, I would say month, but sure. Let's. I mean, sure.
I don't know. Realistically, she's involved in some Australian crime syndicate, and I think that she's in Jackie Chan's First Strike territory, where there's something going down in the I'm trying to bridge kick flicks and this movie, and WuBro, but I guess not.
No.
She's fighting gangland triad crime in the for the Australians.
I gotta be honest with you. I think that the reason she's not available right now is because she landed a gig as an investigative reporter, reporting on the 2022 Kumite, which is obviously taking place in Brisbane, Australia, and they have a local correspondent on there. The difficult part is to get somebody to talk about the secret tournament, because nobody's willing to talk about the secret tournament.
Is it taking place in Brisbane this year?
Yes.
Brisbane?
Yeah. Well, some people pronounce it Brisbane, but those people are idiots.
Why could they learn to speak English?
Yeah.
Is what I would say to those people. No.
Yeah. Learn to speak Australian English specifically.
I don't know. She's probably,
but she would.
Did she get a new job or something?
She did. She's photographing the Kumite. That's right. So I think. I can't wait for those. I can't wait for the images of the 2020 Kumite with her little watermark at the bottom.
Oh man. There's a comedian. Speaking of watermarks, there's a comedian that I knew from around up here. His name is Dan Perlman. He has a show on Showtime now called Flatbush Misdemeanors, and he had a stand-up a joke that was rattling around in my brain because he just posted it, where he was like, had a conversation with an ex of his, where she's like, "Hey, do you still have that picture of my butt? That sexy picture of my butt?" And he's like, "Yeah, of course, I still have that. Of course,
nobody ever deletes that.
Why would you ever do that? Of course."
And ladies, just for FYI, heads up, we don't ever delete that. Anyway.
We may never show it to anybody ever again.
No, absolutely. There's absolute. The
respect is held.
I legitimately, and I'm not saying this to my own horn. I'm being as honest as possible. I've never been that guy that likes sharing.
That's so weird to me.
My girlfriend, whether or not she's my girlfriend now or she was, I don't like that sharing aspect. And I've never been that guy. Like, look at the picture that this woman sent. Like, I've even pre Me Too, and even I just never felt comfortable sharing those kinds of, like, even if I wasn't in it. I know a lot of guys are like, I'll show you the ones, but I'm not gonna show you the one with my dick in it. And I'm like, what? I don't want to see any of that, dude. Like, just
I would only show the ones with my dick in it. I would be like, oh, is this what you wanted? Is this what you wanted?
I was always okay with you telling me, like, oh yeah, me and my girl made a video. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And that's where, like, all the information I need. Like, I don't
give me the cliff notes of the sexual activities, and we're fine. But so the joke goes is like, he's like, yeah, of course, we still have it. And then she's like, can you send it to me? And then implying that she lost it, that she doesn't have that picture anymore, but she's going to send it to another guy.
Right.
So it's like,
but
that was for me. This is a gift.
But here's the thing, though. Here's what I would say to that. I think it's funny because it's her ass. She could just take another picture. This is like O.J. Simpson getting in trouble for beating up the guy who stole autographed footballs from him by him.
Yes.
And it's like, why don't you just go to a fucking sports authority and buy some footballs and sign them again? Like they're your fucking signature. You just do whatever the fuck you need to do. So that would imply to me, if you're not willing to do that, that you're no longer happy with the ass that you carry.
Yes, you want to catfish this new guy, poor guy. That wasn't the way the bit went. The way the bit went, he's like, I can't withhold this from her. You know, like it's her butt. But it's also like you're gonna re-gift something you gifted to me. And then he's
my angle would have been, if not the OJ Simpson angle, I would have gone with, here's the problem. I would love to, but I promised the person who sent it to me that I would never send it to anybody else.
That's
so
great.
You can see where
my
conundrum comes in. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's a great. He goes, is like, after some hesitation, you can see like the crowd trying to figure out where he's going with it. And he's like, so I just put a watermark on it with my name and then sent it back to her. So now it's like when like they send out scripts to Marvel movies that have the name blasted on the front, so they know who leaked it.
Which, by the way, that was a really cool moment for me. Something that I wish I would have. I know I never would have done it, but it was really cool when I did that project with Will Smith last year, and I was given copies of the chapter of his book to read. It had my name on the watermark.
Yeah.
On it. And I was like, this is the coolest fuck. It's like a real thing, man. It's like this is the shit that you see, like, you know what I mean? Like it was one of those things. And I wanted to take a picture just from literally, and I know this is gonna sound very much like the guy who's fucking asking for sexy pictures. No, it's just for me. It's just for me. I'm not gonna show anybody. But I really wanted to take a picture just for me because I would never have posted that. But I really was like, fuck, man. It's like my first, you know what I mean? It's like your first time dealing. It was my first time dealing with any kind of like Hollywood elite type of, like, any kind. Fuck Hollywood elite.
When you think about it, like,
fuck Hollywood elite. That was my first time dealing with any kind of Hollywood anything. Like I had not been in a fucking B movie, much less hanging around a fucking world's biggest movie star. And so that was a cool moment.
That's very funny. Yeah,
it's only in my memory. It's only like I can never.
Yes, that's true.
I have zero pictures with Will Smith. Like if it wasn't for the fact that he released that YouTube series that I didn't know he was filming at that time, had he not released that, I would never have been able to tell. I mean, I was under contract anyways. But even if I told people,
you signed an NDA.
Yeah, I signed an NDA. But even like before because he put out once he put it out, I'm like, I could talk about it now.
Yeah.
But even before that, like I remember telling my wife, and I told the management, they were like, "You're gonna sign an NDA. You can't tell anybody." And I flat out said, "I'm telling my wife." I don't. And I said it the way I said it. I said, "I don't hide anything from my wife. I'm just letting you know that there's nothing I hide from my wife." And she's like, "That's fine. I just don't want you to. We're just talking about more about social media and talking about the projects in specific, whatever." And I'm like, whatever, fine.
Knowing what we know now about Will Smith and wives. That must have been.
I think that was a good bet on me, on my part. That was a good,
like I don't hide anything from his wife. Will can't. He's
not allowed to.
He's not allowed.
I say what I messaged them. His manager. I don't know if his manager, the CEO of his company.
Sure.
She was my contact person for the whole thing, and I contacted her a few weeks ago. And it was like, a private message. I was like, hey, can you just relay a message to Will, blah, 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 whatever. And she replied within like a fucking 60 seconds. She was replying saying, hey, how have you been? Thank you so much for reaching out, blah, blah, blah. I would absolutely relay the message that you want me to say to Will. And she was like, just letting you know, if you ever need anything from us, please don't hesitate to like legit within 60 fucking seconds.
Why didn't you like, hey, can we make a podcast this podcast part of the Will Smith podcast network or whatever?
Well, what I immediately did was like, oh, I'm headlining the Miami Improv July 7th. If you guys are going to be in Miami, just let me know. And I said, I joked around. I said, I could put you guys on the list. And I said, no, I'm kidding. You guys you have to buy tickets, but you get what I'm saying. Like,
they're
$20. They're $20 tickets. I'm not paying that for somebody. You got to go pay it. But yeah, it was really cool. Like again, still to this day, the nicest people in general, not just him, but like all his whole team was so nice and respectful. It was like,
The
you know,
that like that's one of the things that makes me kind of sad about the whole Will Smith thing is that he seems like such a decent enough dude with like maybe weird people around him that are like fake nice, like
no, he has a really good.
cult nice.
Oh no, he has a really good like down to his brother's part of his entourage. Like he has a really cool down to earth group that he himself in his book mentions that they talk about. They refer to themselves as lifers. Like these are not people who are just here one day and gone the next type of deal. Like there are lifelong part of his crew, and everybody does a job. Like it's not you're not just like a professional hang around guy. Like you are doing something legitimate. You know what I
Right.
mean? So like you're on the payroll, but it's not like MC Hammer where he's like, I need a guy to stand over there. It's like no, this guy like literally that was a thing, by the way. That was a real thing by MC Hammer. Like he had just people like, oh, I need you to just stand on the stage or stand on the side, like you know what I mean. So like he would just hire people just because he wanted to pay his friends that he came up with in the hood. And he was like, you don't really have a job title. You don't have no fucking.
That is another thing that I think about. Like, let's say, God, I wonder what. Like, let's say you get an offer for like a sitcom deal.
Right.
Like, if you like, I'd understand if you don't call me, but if you don't call me, I will be very like, huh.
But like again, but you have an actual talent. You know what I mean? Like I would legitimately. So like in my fantasies, I've thought about like, oh, if I get a show, like I've already like I had an opportunity, to do a roast battle. I immediately called fucking Watkins. I was like, he's one of the funniest writers I know. Like I need somebody who could punch up a fucking a joke. And I've never done roast battling before, so I immediately called Watkins. It's like, hey, can you help me out with it? Like because, again, that's not the same thing as saying like, hey, I'm gonna pay my friend from childhood, my childhood friend from the neighborhood that has zero talents
to hold my jacket.
To hold my jacket, and then you're gonna get paid, $10,000 a week. Like that's what MC Hammer was doing, and he was doing it with literally like 150 200 people at a time. Like what the fuck, dude? That's crazy amount of money. But
damn.
So if I got a show, I would call my comedian friends, because they actually have talent. Like that's not the same thing. Missy, I just got booked for something, or let me rephrase it, I just got put through on the next level of auditions for a show. And this happened like I submitted some audition tapes the day on Sunday, right? Or first Friday, then Sunday, and then Monday I'm texting more information, via text. And then they're like, oh, you got put through to the next level, to the next round. Perfect, right? And this is all happening in the waiting room to me getting a vasectomy. And because Missy was my ride, because my wife was working at, she has a job. Missy was my ride. So I'm like, oh shit, I just got they just told me that I got put through to the next round of auditions. And then she was like, oh, that's great. And then she literally said, how long before you forget about the little people? And I was like, I don't even know who you are right now.
Yeah.
So I'm trying. I was like, this is already the weirdest Uber ride I've ever had. So this is a situation. So I was saying that to her or whatever. But again, like if you have a talent, I have no, you know what I mean? Like I absolutely
right.
my friends with men have talent, but it's like
I wonder, like,
and also a sitcom is not the end all be all. Like
for sure.
Like if I got a sitcom, I gotta wait for it to be in its 5th year so I could get residuals for its. By the way, that's industry talk. That's the actual numbers. Like 100 episodes, typically 5 seasons, before it goes into
syndication.
And that's where you make your money, is in the fucking syndication money.
Realistically, that's changed a lot now, so that the streaming services don't work.
Yeah, and this is also contingent. My earlier statement, or my recent statement, is contingent based upon regular network, not. Yeah, this is not Netflix.
Right. Yeah. You can't trust that Netflix money. More and more, I'm thinking Netflix is not honest about how they handle their money. With like, man, if you heard that Netflix wants to drop, we're gonna come back to you getting a vasectomy. Don't worry about that. We will absolutely come back around to that. But if Netflix starts having ads, would you still have it?
Well, seeing as I piggyback off of your Netflix account, yeah, sure. As long as you have it,
Buddy, I got news for you. Surprise, surprise. We both of us will not have Netflix anymore.
I only pay. I do pay a Netflix subscription, but apparently, because of certain amount of devices. So my Netflix subscription, unbeknownst to me, I didn't realize this until like after more than a year of having it, was to pay for not only my TV at home, but the TV in my living room and then my in-laws' TV in North Carolina.
Because they're using your account.
Right. Again, unbeknownst to me, but I was like, oh, that's why I had to go and get another account because I didn't know that I was paying that. All these years, I thought that and to all fairness, we all thought, including my father-in-law, thought that he was the one paying it because it was on his TV, and we thought we were using his account. And it turns out, nope, Neri's credit card is the one I was being charged this whole time.
That's a smooth move there, father-in-law.
Yeah. So,
What do you mean? Oh, I thought it had been coming out of.
Yeah. And because
are you Neri sign? I thought that was. Oh, I'm sorry.
And because it was 3 years after we found out, 3 years after the fact, at no point can I ever be like, "Fuck him! I'm not paying for his shit." Like I can't say that. Right. Because I'm like, no, I thought he was paying for my shit. I'm not gonna pay for his shit. Like I was like, oh, okay.
The best shit I ever heard about that was someone created a profile on someone's Amazon Prime video or something where it was settings. They changed the name to settings and then created an additional profile, and it just said settings. So that was the one they would use for themselves. And who's gonna click on that? Settings profile or whatever. No one.
Right. That's fantastic.
And I was like, oh, what a stealth. I've been using my ex-girlfriend's shit for 3 years.
You hear stories of like people using their ex's shit. Like he still uses my Netflix. I was like, what? Why don't you just stop that? I don't understand.
I remember
if it bothered you, would you care about your ex using your Netflix if it bothered you? Like, would it bother you? Let me phrase that. Would it bother you?
Depends on the ex, but I would say that not really. I don't really care.
To me, it would only depend on if it's stopping me from watching it. Like if it goes, hey, you've been kicked out, there's too many accounts. I'm like, well, now you gotta go. Because now I can't watch it.
Absolutely.
But if it's like, because I have kids and multiple devices. But if it's
like when I got booted out of the Apple family
for my daughter,
I got booted out of the plethora of library that you guys have.
Do you know what
I got kicked? Means?
Do you know what plethora means? I would hate for you to be using plethora and then not know what plethora means. I want to kiss her. Would you like to kiss me in the veranda? Lips are fine.
I have to see that movie.
Fucking so good. Chevy wrote that line himself.
There was so much ad-libbing.
He tagged that up. No, he said that he tagged that up. Like Lauren Michaels, they were, they all helped write it, but Lauren Michaels, and he was like, but he said that he was in an interview. He said that he was really proud of that line. It was like, kiss me in the veranda. It was like, lips are fine.
I would love to. Oh, are you watching Only Murders in the Building?
I watched season 1 recently. Like I just watched season 1 maybe like 3 months before season 2 came out. And it's so funny because I'm like, all right, season 2 is already coming out. And in my mind, I'm like, you know what? Sometime.
Give it a minute.
Give it a minute. I just watched season 1.
You and your binging.
I need to forget what happened in season 1 before going back to watch season 2.
But I will say it does give you a little bit of Three Amigos vibes with seeing Martin Short and Steve Martin again. Like just riffing, like not riffing, but like just like powerhouse comedic acting against each other. Like
how much of an asshole is fucking Chevy Chase that he's
a legendary asshole.
No, but like even with those two guys who he's famously made fucking movies, like a killer movies with, and you know what I mean? Like it's different when, you know what I mean? Like, if somebody tells me Steven Seagal's an asshole, everybody believes it.
Yeah.
But there's not a movie there's not like a series of movies that Steven Seagal has famously, you know, well, Steven Seagal was part of the Three Amigos. You know what I mean? Like it's not like it's just such a legendary, iconic fucking trio. It's not
Steven Seagal was fundamental to the Three Amigos. Steven, there
Dude,
would
oh
be no
my
Three
God.
Amigos without
Can we
Steven
just-
Seagal.
Can we just somebody? I need somebody to fucking steal this idea, please. Make a fucking short of the Three Amigos, but done with Van Damme, Steven Seagal, and
Oh!
fucking and Ivan Drago himself, and then make them the Three Amigos. Like,
Oh man.
that
Didn't they
would
make the Expendables? That was called the Expendables.
No, but
Was
like,
it not?
how big of an asshole is Steven Seagal that he was not invited to make? Like, there were 77 people.
Legendary asshole.
There were 77 people in fucking all the Expendable movies,
Now,
and yet he was still not called. They
now I
called
want to
Eric
see.
Roberts before they called him.
I want to see a
Eric
movie.
Roberts was in Best of the Best. That's all that's the only action movie that guy's ever done. And they go, yeah, like we gotta
get
put
Eric
him in.
Roberts in this. Who turned it down so that Eric Roberts could be in this movie?
We got you know what it is? Like, Stallone wrote the part for a fucking martial artist with a ponytail. And it was like, oh, you mean this is for
It would be great if, like, not once did Steven Seagal's martial artist with a ponytail. Yeah, Eric Roberts in Best of the Best.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like,
of course.
everybody was like, oh, it's clearly for Steven Seagal. Like, no, that's Eric Roberts. What?
What are you talking about?
What's
Steven Seagal, that asshole? No way.
Which, by the way, there was a story, an old Hollywood story that goes that in their prime, Steven Seagal used to hate Van Damme so much and used to talk so much shit about him publicly and privately that they almost came to fucking blows at a real life fucking fight at a party at fucking Sylvester Stallone's house. And Sylvester Stallone had to break it up before it was about to go fucking down, right? And so that's a famous story that's gone around Hollywood for 1,000 years. And so, which tells me that Steven Seagal, at least at some point, his career was going so well that he was invited to fucking Stallone's house.
He
and
was.
Stallone,
Hey man, he's
and Stallone, who wrote the fucking Expendables, still did not put this motherfucker in. How much of an asshole do you have to be, bro?
There has to be. Fuck. I mean, we're getting into Kickflix material, but there has to be somebody
Chevy
telling
Chase
that
could
story.
be the third friend. He could be the asshole.
I want to see a movie now with Steven Seagal, Chevy Chase, and Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah.
All three of them. I want to see them do something. I don't care what it is, but they all have to do it together, and they all have to have scenes that are obviously long takes dealing with each other.
You know, it'd be great.
I just want them to go to therapy. I
You
mean,
know,
that's
be-
what I. That's
It
what
would be
it is.
great if they did these long takes, but they were clearly and obviously not in the same room with each other. Like, they're all CGI'd.
Like Putin with his green screen table where he's like a million miles away from everything.
And then all of a sudden you're watching and you're like, oh, I think, are they in the same room? And then all of a sudden you see Jared Leto's Joker. You're like, I don't think they're in the same room.
That can't be the same. Dead giveaway right there. Boom.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
see
it.
what's happening.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I would
But
love to see
coming
them.
back to speaking of cutting things short, what was how do you feel? What is your experience? How clear have you cleared the pipes yet where you're in the clear?
Oh no, this is 2 days ago.
It's only been 2 days?
Yeah, I got it done on Monday afternoon, Monday at 4. So by the time it got done, it was like probably 5:30.
Were you awake or no?
What the fuck? Yeah, of course. What?
They put me under for it.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the thing. So I did not go under for it. I was having a fucking full conversation, nonstop conversation with the guy. The doctor was fucking super cool. Like, I want to hang out with you, kind of. I would like to have him on the podcast because he's
Sure.
cool. He was talking about music and like he was like, "Oh, you're a comedian," and he just talked about comedies, which it's so funny because I didn't have a problem with him talking to me about this while he's cutting my fucking
Fondling your sack?
balls. No, because he wasn't fondling. When he was fondling was when he gave me the first exam, like, oh, like just whatever, blah blah. And he started talking to me, pulling my junk, telling me his favorite comedians. And in my mind, I was like, can we have this conversation after you stop fucking touching me? Like, after you
I
stop.
would rather. It would be weird if he was just like, yeah, and then And he's just like super
Yeah,
focused.
no, but it was like weird because he was like tugging. It wasn't just like it was like tugging and feeling and like moving shit around. And I was just like, what the fuck? And then he was like, oh, you know who I love? I'm like, don't tell me who you love. I don't give a fuck about comedy right now. Like, stop.
So you're rummaging around in my bag. Please stop.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I had to like. Does the deductible cover this? I'm like, I feel like I should be paying you extra.
I love Jeff Dunham. Yeah. I love Jeff Dunham.
And so he was doing all of this. I didn't. That part kind of bothered me but then with the actual procedure,
yeah,
he numbed me or whatever, and I felt like 3 pinches on each side, like little pinches, and then he went to work, and I didn't feel anything. I smelled solder. I smelled like smoke. And
yeah, from the cauterizing. Yeah.
So I smelled smoke, and I for a second I was like, what the fuck am I smelling? And this all happened like within seconds of each other, where I was like, why am I smelling? I'm clearly smelling smoke. This is not this is not like, oh, it's a weird smell. I can't pinpoint it. I'm like, no, this is smoke. I'm smelling something burning. And then I immediately thought to myself, oh, wait, I think I remember somebody telling me about that the smell was smoke. And simultaneously with that thought came in, he's not flinching. So he doesn't seem to be worried about it. So I'm fine with it. That's how I immediately was happened 2 days ago. So I'm not allowed to clear the pipe, so to speak.
No, you're still fresh.
I gotta wait at least a week, they said.
Yeah.
But I'm super. The first day I was very sensitive. I wouldn't say I want to use the word pain, but I would use the word discomfort. Like, realistically.
Of course. Look, another person who's had one of these, my dad, Tony Mercadal, he says bacon.
Nope.
That's I don't know. Mine did not smell like bacon. I don't know what mine. I was asleep. I was out.
Why did they put you out?
The doctor said, I think it was
Did he open you up and see a vagina and then be like, oh, this guy's a bitch. We gotta have to knock him out.
Look, I've surprised many, but the idea of getting it done, he's like, no, I do it in a surgical. I think it's just to charge more money. I mean, look, I was like, hey, if the insurance covers it,
so
whatever.
I think I don't know what it is, because I literally went to the recommendation of so I wanted to get the vasectomy done, and I've been trying to get this done since last year. And then I texted my friends who I already had known, all got it done by the same doctor. Like one guy went to him, and then everybody started you know what I mean? It's kind of like when you go to I'm at that point in my life where everybody's getting vasectomies. You know, we all go through that. Like, everybody's having a quinces. Like, you go to all these.
Yes, right.
There's a time where there's like a quince every weekend. I gotta go to another quince, and then there's a time where prom. Like, oh, I'm going to all these different proms, and then there's a time where you're going to all these
weddings. Yeah,
and then babies. Everybody starts having babies, and you start having baby showers. And there's like a time in your life and I'm literally at the time in my life where I'm like, oh, this guy had a vasectomy last year, and then 6 months later the other guy, and then a year later the other guy, and you just start. So when it was time for me to get a vasectomy, when I made a decision, I said, okay, who did you go to? And they gave me the one guy's name, and I started scheduling that. So when I finished, I'm literally texting my friend, hey, I'm getting my vasectomy done right now, like as we speak, like it's happening right now,
like FaceTime, like, hey, look what's happening over here.
Right. And so they were like, oh, easy peasy, in and out, whatever. I'm like, bro, it's like, I'm already done. It was half an hour. I'm already done. We just talked about comedy and music. And he goes, same for me. We just talked about sports. Like, he's just a sports fan. And he just talked about sports. And then he said, oh, one of our friends, and he insert name here, which is funny because his nickname is an ironic nickname. We call him El Pingu. Because he's that guy where he's like, oh, hey, bro, we got fucking man up, bro. You got to drink some more. I'm like, well, we're 40. Stop it with this shit. Relax. So we're like, we literally make fun of him. We call him El Pingu out of irony. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, so and so El Pingu, fucking, they had to knock him out. We're like, what? And I couldn't understand why that is. Now I don't have a direct personal relationship with this guy. He's just like a friend of the group of friends that I have. And so I don't have the, I don't know. I just don't have the comfort level would be able to text him like, why did they knock you out? I don't understand that. But I was just like, all right, that sounds weird to me. But you're the second person.
I don't know, man. Some people freak out for any number of things.
But would you freak out? Is that the reason why you got knocked out?
No. That I was not given the option. My urologist was like, I do it in a surgical suite, and we put you in what's called conscious sedation. But if you have any like trouble breathing, we'll fully sedate you. Like, because if I, like I have sleep apnea, so like they just went funk, and then I woke up later. I don't remember. I had the Michael Jackson propofol drip, and I don't even remember anything. I really don't. I was like talking, and then I remember being in recovery. That's it. The irony is,
remind me later on to remind you. I have I just wrote, not just, but like maybe 5 months ago, I've been doing this sleep apnea bit that I have. It's very happy with it. I'm very proud, but I can't imagine it on the show. But
it's all fair.
Yeah, fair. But it's so fucking like the moment you mentioned, I was like, I was about to like go into it, and that's in the album. That's in the album. Pull back.
It's in the album. Okay, good.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't an option, man. My guy just wanted to charge insurance more money, like why, and make you jump through hoops.
I legitimately can respect that. I legitimately, as somebody who loves Amazon, I'm like, yeah, no, that makes sense. Like if my doctor would have said that, like, hey man, I need to get all the money I can because I got fucking 4 kids on my own. I'm like, yeah, bro, I get it, bro.
Yeah, whatever. I genuinely, he gave me a reason why, and I was like, whatever, man, just do it, because I just wanted to get it done.
Like, whatever, man. He's like, word, and then he's like, you see him go on Amazon, click. All right, go ahead, buy those. He's like, honey, get the blinds. Yeah, get it full. We're fine.
Yeah, refine. Yeah. It's like the idea of getting it done. Well, that was my experience is also like a little different because you're established, you have your family or whatever. I got questioned a lot. I got a lot of like people like, what, and I didn't tell it, but like even from the doctor, like the doctor was like, what? I'm like, yeah, I don't want to have kids, and I want to get it. Okay, and then they make you sign a paper that says that you have to wait 30 days, but so in case you change your mind, because it is a permanent thing. So you have to wait 30 days, but then
I heard it was reversible. Is it not reversible?
It's like 20% success rate for a successful pregnancy after reversal, which is like against the odds. Like it's not like you're not guaranteed to be able to have kids after.
I'm fine with it being not reversible, by the way. But I didn't. But I've always heard that vasectomies are reversible. And I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't know.
According to Michael Scott, snip snap.
My doctor came in laughing because my first consultation, they wrote reason for visit, and I wrote snip snap. And he walked in to the fucking room, and he was like, "That's hilarious, snip snap. Are you fucking kidding me? That's hilarious." Like he was like literally pointing at me, like we're gonna get along just fine. Like he was just like, "We're great, we're good."
I remember I went to an open mic, or I was trying to work out like material about vasectomies when I was doing it, and I was trying to get people to cheer snip, snip, snip. And then someone afterwards, like, this is how fragile the male ego is. Someone afterwards goes, "Don't you mean like chop chop? Like you want to like?" I'm like, it's not like it's my vas deferens. It's not my actual dick that I'm talking about. I don't want a huge vas the tube for my balls doesn't need to be manly.
Which, by the way, I saw it. I saw my tube.
Oh, you did?
He goes, "Hey, do you want to see your tube?" And I was like, "What are you talking?" And I kind of like not sat up all the way, but I kind of like looked over, and I was like, "Oh no, I did not want to see that." And I fucking literally saw the fucking white tube, and I was like, "What the fuck? What? No, I don't want to see that. I don't want to. No, awesome. Did not want to see that." But it was one of those like, "Hey, look at that dead horse," and you go, "What?" And you just like fucking look. That's what it was. I didn't like. He goes, "Hey, do you want to look at blah 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 blah?" And I go, "What?" And I go, "Oh!" Like before I realized what he said, I was already at it. I'm like,
it's like when your wife gave birth or whatever. I'm sure they're like, "Oh, you want to take a look?" And there's all those videos of those dudes that they go take a look, and they have like a visceral reaction on their face, or they faint.
I did not want to look. I actually did not look at any of the. I did not, because I was like saw the pictures from my sister like 5 years prior, right? And I saw when they opened her up, and I saw like the skin. So
for a C-section?
C-section, right?
Oh, that's different. Yeah.
No, but my wife had a C-section, so it was not going to be different. It was going to be the fucking same.
No. But like taking pictures of that, or like witnessing a surgery, it's like you're not witnessing a birth. It's like you're witnessing surgery. It's
yeah. And then so I was like, and then the doctor put the curtain up on my wife, right? He was like, "Do you want to look?" And I'm like, "Nope." Looking at my wife, looking at her face, right here, and they're like, "Oh, you last chance to look." I'm like, "Get Fucking show that. I don't want to look at that. I don't like looking at any of that shit. And here's the thing, I'm not like, ew, gross. I'm just like, I don't need to see that, dude. I don't. It doesn't give me any curiosity.
Right, right,
Like,
right.
it's just like I don't.
I
You know,
I feel like I would be curious about it. I probably have seen pictures
well,
of
I
it
hope so.
in
You're in the
training.
medical field. You're in the medical field.
Yeah,
That's your
but I've
fucking.
never.
I get
But
that.
I'm not involved in C-sections. Like,
Yeah, yeah, but
I'm not
still,
doing a
I'm saying,
C-section in an ambulance.
yeah, yeah, but you're in a medical profession, so curiosity to anything in that realm is
Yeah.
normal. It's kind of expected, right? It'd be weird if you were in the ER and be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I draw the line at placentas. It's like, what?
I
That's where you
do
draw the
not
line?
like. I do not like gore. Like, I used to be more into like seeing like interesting medical shit, but then now I can't. Like, I don't know if
Yeah,
I
but
got
once
softer or whatever.
there's only so many things you can see in the ass before you go, I'm out. I'm done.
It's
I don't
not
think so.
even that. That's still cool. The it's what, like, seeing like stuff where you're like, oh, that was a person. Like that. It's like, fuck, I can't separate that anymore, and it's hard for me to like see that shit. So now there's like a couple of young paramedics that I work with that are like, whenever it's the three of us working, it's always just a bunch of like paramedic stories, and then at a
War
certain,
stories?
yeah, it's just like talking shit, like talking shop.
Right.
And like when comedians get together and talk about like bombs and shit that happen with their jokes or whatever, but we were like talking shit, and I remember every once in a while they'll start talking, and I'm like, I'm old. I'm past the point where like I can't not think of the person that is dealing with that, and I'm like, they were probably having a hard time.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I'm much more like forgiving of people like, oh, they were drunk or they are a drug addict or something like that, or even just like now that I've like had panic attacks of my own, like when people have full blown anxiety, that I would just be like, ugh, rolling my eyes and shit like that. Now I'm like, ooh, now I feel bad. I feel bad about like
Well, here's the thing. Yeah, I'm a very empathetic person as well. So like all those things kind of, it's not like, oh my god, it's grossed out. It's like, oh my god, I feel fucking pain. Like I feel like I feel like I just feel like
yeah, it's empathy.
I have a very difficult time even in cinematic movies. When it's not documentary and it's not
Cinematic movies.
as opposed to documentaries, as
Ugh.
opposed to factual. Like I have a difficult time. I don't have a difficult time seeing somebody get shot, but seeing somebody get stabbed or sliced, I'm
Yeah.
always like, I literally just like cringe up and go, and I tighten up. That really does fucking irk me. It really, I can't even.
Nick
I
Swartzen
tell
has a
myself
bit
it's fake,
about
it's
that.
fake, it's fake, it's fake, but I'm like, it
Yeah.
fucking.
Nick
just
Swartzen has the bit about that where he's like, oh, I got shot or whatever. But it's like, if you get stabbed, it's like, oh my god, it's still here. It's coming back. Like,
Yeah, dude, there was a movie. So I saw this movie a couple weeks ago. And I wanted to see it a
hey,
while
look who's
ago.
here, Missy. He means the cinema, Michael. Like, televised television as
Right.
opposed to untelevised television.
Right. I saw this movie called Unhinged. It's with Russell Crowe. It's in the family share. Oh, you don't have that anymore.
Ooh, that hurt. That hurt a little bit.
Like a stab.
Ah.
So it's Russell Crowe,
Oh my god, it's coming back.
and he plays a guy who snaps during a traffic bullshit, road rage, and he just fucking goes on a rampage. And the movie, for like first of all, at the opening scene, you're like, what the fuck? But then it cuts to another scene where, spoiler alert, you think it's like a 24 hours before. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
because it opens up with such craziness that you're like, oh, this isn't a continuation. This is before that whole thing happened. And nope, it's a continuation. But for like 25 minutes, you're like, it's okay, it's fine. It's just building up, right? Like it's building the world. And then it goes off the fucking rails so fast. And by rails, I mean like it goes from 0 to 100. I'm like, wow, that escalated quickly. Like, yeah, like, wow, that's fucking crazy. I very much enjoyed the movie. It got awful reviews, but
It's a 6.0 on IMDb.
I
That one.
very much enjoyed the movie. I was like, this is a fucking cool, like very like I like the creative route that it took. I don't want to talk too much about it because give away a lot, but
Is it like another version of Falling Down?
Yeah, but you're not rooting for the good guy. You're not
What?
rooting for
Who's the good guy and falling down?
no, but you're not rooting for the bad guy. You know how Michael Douglas in falling
Oh,
down. You're like, oh, I could understand where he's coming from. You
right.
just fucking lose it, man. No, there's none of that shit. There's like, there's Russell Crowe is clearly the bad guy. He's clearly this is. I mean, if you look at the movie poster, bro, there's no. I told Missy, I'm like, oh, he plays the bad guy. She's like, oh, spoiler alert. I'm like, look at the movie poster.
Yeah.
And then you fucking tell me if you thought for 1 second that he was gonna play the good guy in this.
It also says one of the tags says he can happen to anyone.
Yes,
and it's like he can happen to anyone. That's never like a good thing.
Never.
It's like he can happen to you where he does your laundry. He can happen to anyone.
Yeah. They're not talking about the fucking the tooth fairy. They're not talking about the fucking
he tips 25%. He can happen to anyone.
Yeah. I was gonna say he walks around with a suitcase full of money and gives it away to random people. He can happen to anyone. Never, it's that. But
there is a movie called It Could Happen to You with Nicolas Cage and Bridget Fonda, where that's the whole story of where he tips the waitress.
Oh, that's right.
And Rosie Perez is in it.
It's based on a true story, by the way.
It is based on a true story. That shit did happen, and it never ended well. Any lottery story ends with murder or deceit or some sort of lawsuit.
It ended up well. It ended up fine. I mean, it wasn't anything bad like that. I'm not sure they still have any money left, but that's not neither here nor there. It's fucking.
There was that Powerball that was like $2 billion.
I think it was 1.5 billion dollars. I mean, that's how much I love when people go, he's not taking all of that home. There's a lot of taxes involved. I'm like, oh, really?
So what?
Word. So only 700 million? Is that what you're saying? He's only taking home only 700 million?
Why even get out of bed then?
Yeah, fuck that. I'm not paying that. Whatever. Can you imagine what the fucking take home would be on a weekly basis if you get the lifetime payout for every fucking week of $700 million fucking dollars? Could you take away? All right, the taxes, bro. That's half.
Yeah.
Okay, $700 million fucking dollars. Imagine what the weekly payout. The weekly payout has to be, I don't know, 200,000 or fucking.
I'll tell you what, I'd be calling Will Smith with more project ideas. Hey, would you like to be in a movie about? I was gonna make it bad. Would you like to make G.I. Jane 2?
I don't find that funny. That's not cool. In case he's watching this,
I still think that G.I. Jane 2 starring Jada Pinkett Smith would make money. It'd be good.
I think G.I. Jane 2 produced by Will Smith would make money. Like, he doesn't even have to be in it. He could just produce it and it'll be like, what? This motherfucker. That's like a baller status right there. It was like, yeah.
God,
like, talk about leaning into the joke.
I look that I will tell you. I genuinely we've had enough time to sit on that for a little, and every time it comes up again, I just feel like it was. There's like from the second something happened, it was like 9,000 wasted opportunities, and it was what he did was like the worst one. Like, there was so many other things that would have been a million times better.
Yeah, Missy's legit. Like, I'm like concerned about Missy because we talked about this last week, right, or last episode. And Missy's like, yeah, I don't think what he did was bad. And I'm like, what? I'm like, he's clearly in the wrong. I'm like, even he says it. It's not because we talked about the apology because he came out with a public apology on his Instagram. And we were
trying to drag a public apology out of Chris Rock. And then Chris Rock's like, nah, man, fuck you.
He didn't. What? What are you talking about?
He said that Chris Rock, he approached it. Like, he aired the private conversation.
He said that I approached him and then he's not ready to talk. And then that's all he said. He wasn't trying to drag.
Well, that's kind of the shit because then Chris Rock was said a couple things on some comedy things that he would some shows that he was on with like other people, and they're like, and a lot of the what I would say buzz around it was that he didn't do anything like none of it was, he wasn't allowed to be private, like it was it came out, you're coming at my guy all wrong, you know what I'm saying, you're coming at my guy all wrong. It was like, this whole shit's private anyway. Why even address it in public? Continue like he didn't.
Well, I think my rebuttal to that would be, he's answering the more popular questions, the questions that he gets most often, such as did Jada make you do it, such as did you apologize to Chris, because he didn't apologize to him during his acceptance speech. He addressed that like the whole thing was a fucking blame. And you hear a lot of people who win the Oscar. A lot of people say they just fucking like everything happens so fast that you just go like how many people talk about like everything happens so fast. I can't believe I forgot to thank my wife. Like you hear that fucking often.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's like people are just like they're out of their mind. Like that moment is out of their mind. Or on a normal Oscars moment is a crazy super. Like at that point, he was just not in his like that had to be
There was a lot
out of
going on
body
that night.
experience.
I
But
will
here's the
say,
thing, though, I would never. Even then, we talked about this during that time.
Mhm.
So two things I take away from it months later. One, I think it's clearly like he messed up. He done messed up now, Aaron, right? He messed up, right? Missy still stands by the fact that she doesn't think that he messed up. She's like, I don't think he messed up. And I was like, what?
she's entitled to her opinion. But
Absolutely. I'm not saying how dare she fucking have that opinion. I'm just saying like I don't understand that logic. However, moving that aside,
that's an agree to disagree moment where it's like I don't know what argument you could give me to sway me over that he's right. But
yeah,
you could
totally wrong.
maybe give me an argument for he made a mistake, but he's still like that reaction was his
Which is
to have.
my reaction, my response is this: months separated, months removed. My response is, my thought is, he was clearly wrong, clearly. But I do still believe that as a society, we over fucking reacted.
Yeah.
It was the only thing people could talk about for 2 fucking weeks, which I know sounds like no time at all, but in today's world of 24-hour news cycles, 2 weeks is a fucking lifetime, bro.
Yeah.
2 weeks is a time, like in this world of like instant messaging and fucking Twitter and like just stories. I feel like 2 weeks is a lifetime. This isn't back in 1990. Remember, like when you hear a story, it stayed in the fucking news cycle. Like this is like we have channels dedicated to 24-hour news, multiple, not just one, multiple channels. And I feel like 2 weeks being in the thing that everybody, whether you're in whether it was ESPN or The View or like nobody could fucking shut the fuck up about this. And I felt like that was an overreaction. That was like as a society, what does that leave us? Like, what does that say about us? That something that happened amongst 2 millionaires is the only thing we could talk about for 2 straight weeks. I thought that was a overreaction.
My big thing was with the Oscars, like with the he was like 20 minutes later he's allowed to win his award and get him to make his speech and all that stuff when he had like committed a crime, like he straight up committed assault in front of millions of people.
I mean, all right, it was a crime in this. Okay, you're not wrong.
Only in the sense of the law is it a
yeah,
crime.
but it's like okay, so you steal bubblegum from the gas station, that's also a crime. You're right. It is a crime, but in the fucking spectrum of crimes, like that's in the lower tier of crime.
Okay, it's like let me put it this way: in a football game, right? These dudes bash into each other all the time. There's always pushing and shoving and blah 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 blah.
And there's concussions, which is also a great role that he played in a great movie, Concussion. Right. Will Smith.
Tell the truth. The idea that those guys are assaulting each other is not, that's not what they're doing. They are both on the same page as to what's about to happen when they snap that ball, right? Like and there's guidelines, there's rules.
Again, I'm not saying that he was wrong, but I'm just what my I don't know. I guess my like eye roll would be at the fact that you called it a crime, and I'm not saying it's not a crime. Yes, by the letter of the law, it is absolutely a crime in the same sense that shoplifting bubblegum is a crime.
I love that. Also, they went to him and they're like, "Would you like to leave?" And he's like, "Nah."
Well, I believe, you know what? That's on the Academy, because I believe that wording is very important. Exactly. It's like when I ask my wife for sex, I don't go, "Do you want to have sex?" I say, "Are you willing to have sex tonight?" And these are two very different words, questions.
To
And
want and to be willing, yes, are very two
willing.
different
So
states of mind.
I'm married long enough to know that I don't ask, do you want to?
Will you
I
tolerate
ask,
me having sex
yes,
with you?
will you take one for the team tonight? And thank you.
You're the glue that holds this family together.
Absolutely. So I appreciate you. Yes, there's a difference in
Uh,
the questions.
Two people having sex, getting one of them gets slapped. If they knew it was going to happen, as
Again, I'm
previously
not
expressed,
saying
the
that he was
slap
right.
was welcome.
I'm not saying that he was right. I'm verbally saying I think he messed up. I think he did wrong. I
Who
just think
was
that the reaction of 2 weeks of it being in the national, every conversation revolved around is like, hey, I heard you had a
yeah. No,
baby.
that's wild.
It,
And
it
then
was
and
like,
like,
did you hear the Will Smith slap? Bro, that's crazy. I heard you had a baby. But first, tell me what you think
hold
about Will
on.
Smith. Like, first, tell me
Would
what
you
you think about the
we
Oscars.
named our baby Will Smith slap. Who had the bit of I ain't saying he should have
Chris,
done it, but I
Chris
understand.
Rock. It's
Yes.
Chris Rock. That was one of the funniest tweets that my friend, comedian Lewis Johnson, tweeted. And he said, was it Lewis Johnson or no, Billy Williams tweeted. He says, I'm not saying that Will was right. I'm just saying I understand. Like he immediately tweeted that right after, and I'm like, fucking
That's a good
chef's
bit.
kiss. Chef's fucking
What
kiss.
was it in reference in Chris Rock? Like in
I don't know.
context?
I'm not a fan of Chris Rock's comedy, so I don't.
Oh, you're not really?
I don't. I
That's
dislike.
interesting.
In fact, I've had this conversation with a friend of ours, a friend of mine, Don Gray, comedian Don Gray, and we were talking about like he's like Will Smith. Like he goes, the fact that you still like Will Smith, talking to me, he's like, the fact that you still like Will Smith says a lot about your personality because as a comedian, you should immediately like he should be exonerated from you by you because you're a comedian. Just the fact that he attacked another comedian, and I go, listen, I get what you're saying, but I really don't like Chris Rock's comedy. I gotta clarify that because I've never met the man as a person. I'm sure he's a great person, but I don't like Chris Rock's comedy, and it goes further than I'm just not a fan of his comedy. I don't think he's funny. Like I've gone and watched specials with people who are laughing next to me. I'm like, what part of that was funny? I
Yeah.
don't get it. So with that said, I'm not saying that what Will Smith did is right. I'm saying that if he was gonna attack a comedian, to me, that would be the one to do it. Be the one to that was, and
Fuck, damn.
and
That's cold.
obviously that's a joke, but we're having this conversation amongst comedians, and it was like that's, and then we were both laughing, and he was like, "It's never okay to hit a baby." I'm like, "What if the baby was Hitler? What if the baby was Hitler? Can you choke out a baby?" So then we started having that theoretical.
Right. Yeah. Everyone, we always do that. What if
What?
that baby was crying? Oh no, that's just a movie MASH.
Yeah.
You remember in that movie they fucking kill a baby, and it's like, well, it would have given away our position in war. It's like, well, I don't know. Fucking, I was not in the position to make that decision.
That was
so
one of my favorite conversations I've ever had with a comedian, because that's a very stereotypical conversation that comedians have, where we just take one kernel of something.
Would you rather?
Would you rather? And then we snowball it into like, well, but what if? And then we just start going into, and yeah, like again, it was a joke. I'm obviously not okay with Will Smith hitting anybody, much less any comedian, but it doesn't make a difference to me whether they're a comedian or not. But the joke was like, well, I'm not a fan of his, so I'm not a fan of Chris Rock, so it's okay that he slapped him. And that was the joke. And then we went into this whole thing like, no, you can't slap a baby. You can't. Oh, I could choke out a baby. I'm like, if it's baby Hitler, I'm like, if there's any baby to do it to, you can do it, baby Hitler. So we just.
What if it was baby Will Smith?
So if you ever watch a show Superstore, they get into a conversation like this in a break room where they literally go like, what if it's blah blah? What if it's baby Hitler? What if like, oh, what if it's baby? What if it's okay? The whole thing was an abortion thing. Like, what if it's okay to have an abortion? You're killing a baby. Like, what if it was a Hitler? Would it be okay to have an abortion for Hitler? Like, what if it was baby Beyonce? Like, whoa! And then people just started having this whole thing. Like, so it was like a fucking great scene in the show Superstore, where go.
I don't know. We're talking about it again because it's still the thing is that one thing is talking about the slap, and then another thing is talking about the thoughts that happen because of it. Right. You know what I mean? Like we're talking about like so much stuff. Like that's the one thing that I get that frustrates me. Like I was just trying to watch a couple comedy specials, and I could like Netflix, the newer ones, like the Bill Burr one, the new Bill Burr one. bro, I cannot engage. A lot of time, like it's just I couldn't engage. I was trying to watch the new Tim Dillon one because
What was
I
it
met
about what was it about the Burr one?
it must have been like that I wasn't in the mood for a comedy special. Like I was watching it like it was homework, and then I was like, no.
Can I tell you? So first of all, that happens a lot when with any special, specifically with any comedy, when you've heard so many positive things that you feel you have to watch it, and like, oh, now I feel like I have to, right?
Have to watch it.
And
Or
then it's like,
controversial things where like you're
right,
and then you're watching it with the idea of like, well, let's see how
let's
this goes.
yeah, arms folded, which is the way you watch the Chappelle thing. Remember when you go, I'm gonna watch a Chappelle thing, and I go, you're already watching it with arms folded. Like, there's no reason to watch a comedy with arms folded. Whether good or bad, whether it be for controversy or for like, let's see how great this is, and it's like you're already watching it with arms folded.
I should have just watched something I would have enjoyed rather than something that was going to be like a homework assignment.
But I will say, so the Bill Burr special, I'm very conflicted by it because I think that the material was amazing. I wasn't a fan of the special because I hated the fucking audience. Shut the fuck up. Let the man do his fucking job. This whole fucking hoot and hollering, and I'm sure for Bill it was fantastic. I'm sure but I just feel like they were interrupting the fucking setups. I'm like, shut the fuck up and let him talk. Let him. This is not a
maybe. I mean, maybe that's what I was like because
it bothered the fuck out of me as a performer. It bothered. I'm like, let him talk. He's not asking you a real fucking question. When he goes, you know what I mean? Shut the fuck up, Tom, in row 72. Yeah. Shut the fuck up. He doesn't really want to know if you know what he means. Like,
you know what it is? I think one of my issues is like the Joe Roganing of comedy, where it's like the second a comedian, God, I'm trying to think of a good example, but the second like a comedian where where they do interject, where like the comedian says something that you agree with politically or whatever, and you're like, and you're like, why that wasn't part of the joke. He was making a reference to something.
He literally would say it multiple times. He was like, relax.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a twist. It's what the fuck I do. I'm an asshole. Don't agree with me.
Right.
Because there's gonna be like, he's literally fucking saying that out loud. And I just felt that the reason he had to say that was because there were so many interjections by the fucking audience.
Like,
good or
people,
bad.
Like because he has that bit about like that's the thing with Hitler. Remember he does that thing. That's the thing about Hitler, and everyone's like, "Whoa!" He's like, "Still," and it's all about like the second guy that hears the first guy and is like, "Yeah, I think fuck this place. I'm gonna go with you," and it's like now there's two of them, you know. So that's that whole thing about wanting to be a part of the comedy. Like I'm not. I'm not just your average comedy fan. I'm part of it, you know, because I hooted when he said, rape or whatever.
No, he wants me to fucking shut the I would pay good money to have that special or the material that he did. I would pay good money to get the recording of that special. Of that special 2 nights before he filmed it, when he just did it at a fucking comedy club.
Oh yes,
I would fucking pay good money. I would pay easily $50 fucking, which is for just a recording. That's a lot of money because that's really what you're paying it for a ticket to see him live. I would pay $50 for a recording, maybe even $100 of a recording of that special 2 nights before he filmed it, when he was doing it at the fucking local Chuckle Hut. Where he was just refining it and just like, okay, it's done. We're ready for the TV. We're ready for the special. Like, I just want to do like that recording a week earlier. I think that space is too big, right? At the Rocks in Denver, it's too big. It's like comedy's
a rock venue. It's meant to be music,
but comedy is meant to, like, this is what I have this conversation often, and I get it, man. I'm not hating on comics who do theaters and I think it's great. That's fine, right?
You can sell those tickets,
right? Especially obviously money financially, for to gain followers, to get, like, that's what you need to do, right? For specials, I always say, and again, this is not me being a fucking contrarian, and it's definitely not me being a hater, because I'm saying I like the material. I love Burr's material, but I feel like comedies in a room this is where it's designed on a room of 150, 200 people, low ceilings, and we're all fucking packed in together.
It's the I Am Comic.
The laughter bounces off the walls, and that's where it's the intimacy. Optically, it is awesome to see a fucking theater full of people, right? Like it fucking does that camera sweep where you do all those people. That's optically, that's awesome. When you see that Joe Coy specials and you see fucking arenas full, like that is amazing. It's great. For the show, it is great, right? Optically. But for the comedy show, you're like, nah, bro, I need it. Performer, that's and I do theaters every week on the ships. I do 2,500 people every week on the ships, and it's great when you hear people laughing. I'm not saying it's bad, but when I do the comedy club throughout the week before because the theater show is always at the end of the week on the ship, and that's 2,500 people. But the fucking comedy club where it sits 130 people every fucking show, like that's just prime for me. And I'm like, oh, this is great.
If you see the documentary I Am Comic, they set it up in a way. I forget who the comedian, maybe Todd Glass. I don't remember who does it, but somebody is like, you're not supposed to, it's supposed to have a low ceiling because then the sound just disappears into the air.
Right.
And then you need to hear everybody.
Todd Glass does it.
Yeah. It needs to feel enclosed in. It has to be so dark enough so that you can barely, like, the comedian is the only thing you can see.
Right.
You know, like, you can't see other people fucking chit-chatting and bullshit or whatever.
Right.
Like, you have to focus on the comedian. It's like, and he sets it up, and in my mind, I'm like, anyone who doesn't have their space set up, like, who chooses, my friend was doing this weekly or bi-weekly show in this barbecue restaurant, and it was death because high ceilings, like a warehouse, and then the wall was like open, so like all the sound basically traveled over whatever, so you were literally doing comedy for the air in front of you, and then everyone was sitting like in the corner, in the edges of the room.
Dude, I've done comedy in a fucking hibachi room, in a hibachi restaurant that was fucking split up by a fucking curtain.
I don't know how they think that that's going to be a good idea.
Oh no, there's a curtain. So what you think when I fucking hearing it? When I hearing that and the fucking utensils, like we're all hearing all of that shit, like.
I want to laugh, but I can't. I'm not allowed to laugh at that. That was
so. Jamia says, "What's the biggest venue that you would do?" Jamia, so realistically, there's no limit. I would, like we said,
horse.
We are prostitutes, and there are so many reasons to do big theaters and to be grateful for them. And I would absolutely love to do Madison Square Garden and do arenas, and that would be amazing. That would be great. Financially, both, but it would be great for financial reasons, for financial gains. It would be great because you have that many people watching you and you have that many people enjoying you. But what I'm talking about specifically is for a comedy special. For a comedy special, optically, it looks nice. Like if I'm at home, I'm in the living room, it looks nice to see all those hundreds of people, right? But realistically, the performance, watch any comedy special, the performances are better when they give you an intimate setting.
Yeah.
There are those specials. If you watch Andrew Schultz just released a new special. If you watch his first special that he released on YouTube, his first one, not the current one, but his first one that he released like maybe 4 years ago, it's in a comedy club. And he shot it in a comedy club and he released it for free on YouTube. That's what got him big, right? That special is so amazing, not just because Andrew Schultz is amazingly talented and super fucking funny, but the fact that it's in a comedy club, and comedy clubs are set up differently to succeed for comedy. Like that's the thing.
I miss the concept. I miss the concept of a comedy album.
Yeah.
Like where it's not there's no video element. You're just there listening to comedians,
right?
And listening to a comedian from beginning to end. One of my favorites, and some of the jokes don't hold up, but they don't have to. I mean, it's like a little time capsule. Is the Dave Attell Skanks for the Memories?
Right.
That Dave Attell special was done at some random comedy club in Denver or something like that, and it was genuinely like raucous and like rowdy and like a club, like a comedy club night. It's not.
Dude, Bill Burr's first album, right? And I forget the name of it, but it's just his CD. It's him, and it's a blue cover, right? His first album, you could hear the fucking cash register.
Yes.
ching, 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 ching. You can hear the cash register printing up receipts because he
Yeah.
placed the tape recorder somewhere in the vicinity of the fucking both. It must have been like on the sound booth where it's picking up the microphone, right? The speaker, but it's also picking up the fucking table around.
Yeah.
Like it's literally picking up. And in the notes, in the CD jacket, right? That's how old school this shit is. In the CD jacket, he said recorded in one show at whatever comedy club, and then he says, and not because of some artsy fartsy artist reason. It's just because I'm too lazy to record more. I'm too lazy to do editing. Like he literally just is like, I'm not gonna fucking.
It's like,
piece
there you
together
got it.
I'm not gonna piece together the perfect set. He's just too lazy to do that. He goes, I'm not doing it because I'm an artist and I'm like, this is the way the show went. He's like, I'm just fucking too lazy to edit.
There's another comedy album that was Tig Notaro, Live, the one that she recorded. That no, she did it in at like Largo or whatever. So it was just like a little random show that she did, and then it's like almost like an EP. It's not even like a full comedy hour,
Right.
but it was when she found out that she had cancer. She just went out there and just started talking, like started just doing bits about it, and it ended up like being where it's like, oh shit, you need to put this out because of like how real it was,
Right?
And because that's when the shit's good, not when it's like super rehearsed and produced. Like everyone loves Rich Hedberg. Rich Hedberg hated both of his fucking specials.
Yeah. See, but here's the thing. That's like the artsy fartsy that Bill was talking about. Like, I'm not the artsy fartsy guy. Like, look, man. You know, if we're gonna pull the fucking curtain back from the fucking, you know, the wizard is gonna pull the curtain back, you know, when you go to comedy clubs, that comedian has most likely said that joke before.
Yes,
and I'm not saying that they haven't come up with anything new. I'm saying even if they come up with something new, they're not. If you're watching a guy do 60 minutes, a woman do 60 minutes, even if they have 15 new minutes, which is a lot of fucking new material, by the way, right? If you go into a comedy show and the fucking comedian is doing 60 minutes and 15, 20 minutes of that is new, that's a lot of new fucking shit, man. All right? That still leaves you 40 minutes of rehearsed shit that I've done 1,000 times. The trick is to not make it feel to you, the audience, the viewer, as if you've done it 1,000 times. That's where the fucking magic happens, right? That's where the illusion happens. And that's where the fucking I'm the wizard and I'm showing you that. But I don't care if it's been rehearsed. I don't care if it's raw. I don't care if it's any of that. I care if it's funny. And I think the energy is better for a performer when it's a smaller crowd. Okay, not small like what Jamil witnessed. Jamil went to go to my album recording, and he was one of 7 people. That's too small.
Yes.
That's too small. But I will say, it. You know, I don't know, man. That's why I hated that. That's why I'm very conflicted over Bill Burr special. I thought the material was great,
hard,
but I just kept telling the audience to shut the fuck up. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Let him speak. He's doing a setup. Jesus. He's not even at the fucking punchline yet. Let him get through the fucking setup. That bothered the fuck out of me, man. Very conflicted.
You're so mad.
I'm very conflicted. I'm very mad because I'm just like, because he had to stop the show to fucking say, relax. Let me get there. Don't agree with me just yet. I'm an asshole. Like, he had to stop the show multiple times for that, to be able to say, like,
how many times? Well, that's the whole thing about like the current comedy. Like, oh, they don't let you say anything, man. And one thing that I have noticed whenever I like watch specials, the whole first, like, that's what my problem with Paper Tiger, where the whole first 20 minutes was him complaining about that you can't say shit. It's like, motherfucker, you're on a next Netflix special saying shit. Like, just, you don't have to tell me. Just get into it. Get into the bit.
Well,
don't tell me, and don't tell me about some Twitter exchange you had, or like just like those bit. If it's not a bit, like, what are we doing?
You know? But it is a bit. His bit is complaining. His bit is, first of all, Burr's entire style is him complaining. That's his entire, like, if you want to break it down, to its simplistic root. Burr has that angry, which he talks about often, about his anger and irrational anger, and it's him complaining about shit, right? So 1, 2, that's the bit. The bit is like him complaining about, like, just like he was complaining about fucking people. He was complaining about people who everything. Like, oh, you're gonna complain about people who adopt dogs? Oh, I saved them and blah, blah, shit there. Just tell me the story of you adopting a dog. But that is the story. The story is that you were anti-adopting dogs, and then you adopted a dog, and then you were turned around and you felt, whatever. Like that's the whole thing. Like you just, I'm fine with him doing that. I loved Paper Tiger personally, but
But that's the thing is that the
I get
tone
what you're
is
saying. Like it's very difficult. It's kind of like difficult when you hear a comedian talk about how rich they are. You're like, oof,
right.
this is weird. But that's also their life. Like, am I really gonna believe when Kevin Hart goes, man, it's so fucking, I'm so broke. I counted my bank the other day and I don't have any money. Like, fuck you, Kevin Hart. I know you're rich. Like, don't give me that bullshit.
Yeah, it's
What am
also
I-
like, don't you hate when you get bad service at
Yeah.
at Nobu and it's like,
Yeah. Huh?
I have no idea what that's. I would like
Yeah.
tell me what that's like. I
Yeah.
I cannot relate to you. It's like I was flying in my private jet the other day.
So this is
and
what I
it's
love
like,
about
Jesus Christ.
This is what I love about Chappelle, right? He has found a way to make that funny because he would just randomly go, and here's something that you may not know about me. I fucking love being famous. Like he just says it, and you go, oh, okay. And he goes, oh, being pulled over by the cops, and then they're like, oh, it's you. And like, yeah. Huh? He's like, I don't hate cops because I'm famous. Like that, when he says shit like that, you go, oh, okay, yeah, it's like I'm not gonna believe Chappelle or fucking Kevin Hart or maybe even Burr at this point when they go, I'm fucking, I'm broke, man, I'm struggling. He's like, what? No, you're not.
Yeah, no, Bill Burr's like flying helicopters and playing drums with Paul McCartney and shit. Like it's like you're a fucking celebrity. Like you're
well
not
off. Yeah,
you're not
at least
one of the common man anymore.
And no, you may be common, but you're not trying to make ends meet. You're not at that level of like, you know what I mean? Like we've all had those. I used to have a joke about having to call my bank and like, you're broke when you call your bank and you don't even have to wait for the prompts. You immediately know what buttons to press.
Right. Because you've called them so many times.
You called them so many times. Like I've literally been in that situation where, and so I used to have a joke like that where you would be like, your available balance is 37. And you go, yes. Cents, and you go fuck, and you go do like that. Like I literally had to do like but I can't do that joke now. I mean, even it won't work because technology, everything is in the fucking phone.
Right.
But the whole point is I can't do that joke now. I'm not bragging, but I do have a couple $100 in my bank account, so I'm not. You know what I mean?
100, man. Better than some.
I'm 100 air, motherfucker. I'm a couple hundred air.
Triple digits, baby.
John Witherspoon I used to love when he used to say, he goes, I'm a multi-thousandaire.
I will say that once you're like you get into a new digit, that is a good feeling.
Yeah.
Once you get into it, like if you get to a new digit and you're just like, yeah, and then it's like, oh man, did you watch Silicon Valley? There's the guy who is a billionaire that he's like one of these venture capitalists, and it's all about and he has like it's all about the billion, right? And he has like his own brand of tequila called Tres Comas, like 3 commas for the billion. And then it's at one point like his one fear is dropping below. He's like, that's nothing. That's bullshit. It's like that, like you know what I am now? A millionaire. It's like that's nothing. And it's like you have $900 million. You're like, what are you talking about? He's like that, and he grabs it like that means nothing.
Yeah, that's funny. It's true though. Jamia says Richard Pryor early shows were in venues like that, and I think his first album is in a bar. Yeah, man. I mean, especially back in those days, bro, where comedy was like the fucking wild west, and you just had to record shit and on the go and on the fly. You didn't have professional. I mean, there was no.
The best, one of the like, if you like him, some of the early albums of Patton Oswalt are like that, where they feel like real as hell.
There was a lot of comedy albums in the 90s and the 2000s.
Yeah.
That because it was the beginning of comedians being able, it was the beginning of technology being able to, I could record this now where it's not
wherever
literally a tape recorder, where it's now digital recording.
Right.
And it's kind of bulky, but kind of you could still travel with it, kind of, you know what I mean? And in the late 90s and the early 2000s, there was a lot of these albums coming out where people were just putting out their own albums because they were able to self-produce for the first time. Like before that, you couldn't have that. You needed a studio behind you. You needed a whole thing behind you. And the late 90s, early 2000s was I think that kind
You
of
got to
like
give it to Dane Cook for dating a teenager, but also to marrying a teenager. But also, you got to give it to him because at the beginning, man, that motherfucker was all over the internet, like in Facebook and
he
sorry,
was the beginning,
MySpace. And,
he was the one of my favorite quotes about Dane Cook is when he had that when he did the WTF with Mark Maron, and he told the story of like he knew that marketing was a big deal, and he got that from his dad, and he said, my dad used to say, and he quoted his dad saying, nothing draws a crowd more than a crowd. And it's fucking like immediately, like if you know what he's talking about, you know what he's talking about. Like that is the most truest shit ever. Like you just need a spectacle for people to be like, what the fuck is happening over there?
Yeah.
And then that gets more, like that right there will get more people.
there's a whole TED talk, and it's again, it's like that Bill Burbett about the first follower. That
Right.
it's not about like any good visionary, anybody can like there's a million people you've never heard about because they couldn't get that first follower. Once someone, it's like I remember Godfrey had this bit about like if you see a guy alone at a bar, he's like, oh, this fucking creep. And then a second his like girl was in the bathroom or something and comes up to him and then it's like, oh look, hey, hi, like that, because if someone vouched for him.
Correct.
Like there's someone is willing to be with him, then he's good. He's fine.
Yeah, he's fine.
And it's the same thing about if you can get like a good lieutenant, like you know what I mean, like that is the one that like, hey, this is great. Like someone who's like hypes you up genuinely.
Right.
That's like invaluable. That first follower is like
Joey
invaluable.
Coco Diaz. Joey Diaz has a great. It's now being used as a motivational in these like motivational reels, these workout reels. The voiceover of Joey Diaz saying like, "You don't need a whole army. You just need 3 bad motherfuckers.
Yeah,
3 bad motherfuckers could take over a fucking country. You just need 3 bad motherfuckers to be with you and ride with you and fucking do whatever you need. You don't need a whole fucking army. You don't need all these followers. You need 3 bad motherfuckers." And it's like, I get the sentiment. I'm fucking with him. Yeah. It's just a little weird when he goes, "You could take over a country." I'm like,
hey, we all have our own goals.
January 6th, take it easy. So that's what but I agree with what he's saying. Like, it's not about how many people you have, it's about the right people you have. I get that, but the whole Dane Cook thing, I thought was great. Like, there's nothing draws a crowd more than a crowd. I thought it was fantastic.
That is
did we talk about everything on the
We did not, and I don't want to. I feel like sad because the Goodest Boy.
The Goodest Boy.
We got to talk about. Well, let me just read it. We have Snip Snap. Oh, fuck, I lost it.
Snip Snap, I was having a blast.
Snip Snap, the Untold Manti documentary. We didn't talk about that.
Did you watch that?
No.
Okay, so Untold is a docuseries on Netflix, and it's all about sports, but different stories in sports. And the first one, I believe, was about the melee in the Palace, the fucking Detroit Pistons.
With Ron Artest. Meta World Peace.
Yeah, Meta World Peace. So I've watched these documentaries. They are fucking phenomenal, right? So now the newest one to be released is the Manti Te'o story. It's a 2-parter.
Manti Te'o's fake dead girlfriend.
The whole thing, the whole fake dead girlfriend thing. It was fucking brutal, dude. Like I my heart goes out to that guy. You got to watch that documentary.
I kind of want to be just because like there was never a resolution to the story. Like it kind of fell away because everyone was just like, ugh, this is.
Dude, you got to watch that.
I know.
Fucking twist, no pun intended.
Okay.
The twist that's gonna, and you go. Did you find out the twist within the first 5 minutes of the first episode? And you go,
sure.
What the fuck?
I knew.
You're like, that happened? That was a thing. Like, you didn't even know that was a fucking thing. Like, it was fucking crazy. And then one of the things that I loved about it is that the people who leaked the true story, who like actually did the investigative report, was Deadspin. And their whole reasoning for leaking it was they were saying, haha, look at ESPN and look at all these legitimate news people, quote unquote legitimate fucking news, that couldn't figure this out. And we at Deadspin that had 6 employees figured it out. They weren't doing it to make fun of Manti Te'o. They weren't doing it. They were just like, look how fucking bad at reporting ESPN is. Let's fucking put pie in their face. and the media with the animal turned it to make it be like, is Manti Teo gay? And you're like, what the fuck? They were like, the people who released it were like, what? That's not how this story was not supposed to be interpreted this way. It was not meant to be interpreted this way. It's like, this story brings up this Deadspin article brings up a good point. Is he in on it? And like, what? That was never in convention.
That was the way that they could defend themselves for not knowing. Would be like, well, he might be in on it, and it's like,
so
no, there's no new angle. You're making it up.
He's hiding the fact that he's gay. He's like, what? Why is he hiding the fact? What are you talking about? How did that? Did you read the Deadspin article? That's not at all was mentioned in that. Like, what are you talking? So, like, it was very interesting.
I also feel bad because
we're now a decade removed, so it's very interesting, or 7 years removed. It's now very interesting to be able to look back and be like, oh, that's what I'm having now.
He had a promising career too, and it's like
that's not what I had. That's not what I have now going on with myself with the Will Smith thing. Is like, man, we really fucking overreacted to that shit, didn't we? Like, it was like, wow, we really. It's like, all right. But yeah,
we overreact to a lot of shit.
Oh, the Manti Teo documentary.
Yeah, Snip Snap, Untold, the Manti Teo doc, and thank you, Baloo.
Baloo. So my dog passed away we had to put my dog down last week, and it was brutal because, I mean, for multiple reasons, it was very difficult for us. But I wasn't home. I was on the road.
Shit.
So Vanessa had to do this on her own, and and the kids were in North Carolina with their grandparents, visiting their grandparents. So like on multiple levels, it really destroyed us on multiple levels. Personally, I could say that it was very difficult for me, not just because he was my dog and my friend, and I like adored this fucking animal, but the fact that I wasn't there for him at the end.
Right.
I wasn't there for him the last week of his life, much less the last day of his life. I wasn't there for my wife, who had to go through this by herself. I wasn't there for my kids when my kids found out. Like, I wasn't, like, it was a lot of very much
stuff
on the road as a comedian, and it really did. Like, this is the first time it happened the 12th, which is Thursday, I believe. Right? No, yeah, it happened on the 11th. So it happened on the 11th, and we're now a week, 7 days removed, and this is the first time I'm able to talk about it without breaking down. It's been very difficult for me. And it's been very, I knew, like, because I'm a wuss and I cry a lot anyways at movies and whatever the fuck, at commercials. But
if anything, we've proven that we're not psychopaths on the show, because we have emotions.
But I very much knew that I was going to be like, because when you get a dog, you know that there's going to be a time where the dog, you outlive your dog. That's the majority of the time. That's a sad fact. Even when you get a puppy, there's that joke where you get a puppy, you're like, great, now I'm gonna have to fucking see this thing die. Like, it's like,
right. I can't wait to be miserable in a decade.
It's like, I made this joke to Missy. It's like, one day when I'm ready to get another dog, I'm gonna use that Michael Scott quote. He's like, no doubt about it, I'm ready to get hurt again.
Yeah.
Like, that's you know what I mean. So I've been. It's hit me a lot harder than I would, but he was a good. I just love that dog, man.
Yeah.
I just like it.
It's part of the family. My brother just recently had to put down his that family dog, Sasha, that he got before, like, that dog was due. It was time. Like, it was able to be processed, and that's one of the things where it was like, they were able to say goodbye. She was like, una viejita, she was,
yeah.
And then they were, but it's still damaging. But, like, I can understand that you're coming home to a different space without, and it is hard, and you should be allowed to take your time and figure it out. And I cannot stand when people diminish, like, the death of a pet as, well, it's not like it's one of your kids. Right. I'm always like, okay, now I know something about you, and who you are as a person that will inform how I think about you later.
What that would tell me is that that person has never had a pet in their adult life. Like, that's what that would tell me about them. I don't judge them. I don't be like, oh, fuck you. I go, oh, you haven't had a pet, because there's, you know what I mean. Like, it's one of those things where you go, oh,
you don't have this.
You haven't had a pet as an adult. Like, that's what that immediately tells me. Don Gray, going back to my friend comedian Don Gray, he said, I've never been a dog person. I've always liked dogs and respected dogs, but I never had one as a pet. I just now, at 48 years old, became a pet owner because the girl that he's now engaged with, she had a dog. They already, like, when he met her, she had a dog. So now that he moved in with her a year ago, he's like, so now at 48, I'm now, for the first time in my life, I get it now. Like, he literally told me this the day after Baloo passed away. He said, he's like, I totally get it now. Like, I would not have understood it a year ago, but I get it now. And it's not until you have a pet that you get. And I put that disclaimer in the post. And by the way, I know this is not tooting my own horn on it. Like that, I just want to express how the level of my, how people go, I knew I was hurt when, or I knew that I was going to, I knew that it was a bigger deal to me than I anticipated it to be, because I always knew it was going to be a big deal, but I knew it was a bigger deal than even I anticipated it when somebody commented today on my Instagram, and I got an alert on that post, and they saw me on the cruise that I was on last week. And they said, I was on the cruise that just happened 5 days ago, and blah, 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 blah. And I noticed this is the last, I haven't posted anything. And I just haven't wanted to post anything. I'm like in my, and that's what made me realize it's kind of like that, and again, this is a situation where it's not PC anymore. You remember that whole 40-year-old virgin, like, how I know you're gay? Like, how I know you're sad? You know how I know I'm sad? I haven't posted anything on Instagram in a week. Like, that's that's a big deal for me to not post.
After all the struggle you went through to get that fucking account back.
I've been in and then today was the first time that I could say that I haven't cried in a week. And it's mostly because it was my kid's first day of school. And so I had that
other stuff
to think about. I don't want to say distraction, but other stuff, more important stuff in my mind.
Distraction is a powerful thing. Even if know it's a distraction, it's still a powerful thing. And hey,
the vasectomy, I had the worst day because the day of the vasectomy,
they chopped your nuts. Of course, it was a bad day.
The day of my vasectomy was the first day that I came back. My first full day at home. And it was the day that the vet had told us dogs get picked up on Mondays to get cremated. So I knew, even though they told us that the Wednesday before, I know it's Monday. Like, that's information. When information can be taken back, I already know the information. I know that Mondays is the day that my dog got taken to be,
You're aware.
And so I was aware, and I was hyper aware, and it wasn't until I'm having a conversation and I was still sad while I'm in the waiting room getting passed on an addition.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's something that should have brought me a lot more joy than it did. And in my mind, I was like, oh, this is good news. But that's it. That's what I was. I was like, oh, this is good news. I wasn't like stoked. I wasn't like, and it wasn't until my balls started getting chopped off that I was like, this is a good distraction. This is a good distraction.
Where you're like to the universe, you're like, I get it. I'm just focused on something else. Thank you. All right.
I didn't, but you know what? I could honestly say from 5:30 in the afternoon on Monday through the rest of that day, I didn't cry that day. Like, that was
not for that.
Like that. No. After that, like, I was like, I'm fine. I'm like, there's more.
I get it. Yeah.
And then there's a friend of mine who's a comedian, and I'm not gonna mention his name only because even though he publicly posted this, it still feels so fucking hard for me to, like, I don't. It's kind of one of those, like, this is his news type of deal. I don't want to, you know what I mean? But he's a good friend of mine, and he's a comedian. And on top of the fact that he's super funny, he is one of the nicest people I've ever hung out with. His grown son got into a motorcycle accident on, I believe, Sunday after brunch. Shit. And he posted this on Instagram, posted a story. All he did was post a picture of him and his son. And it said, my son got in a motorcycle accident after brunch yesterday afternoon. And he did not survive his injuries. Like, that's the way he worded it. And I had to reread that fucking 4 or 5 times to be like, wait, what am I reading here? Because this is not seem. And he's like, my son. And then when he said that, you know what I mean? Again, perspective. It's okay to love your dog. It's okay to miss your dog. It's okay to cry over your dog. I've fucking cried over my dog for a week now. but when I saw that my friend, somebody I knew, is going through that loss, I was like, oh no, like that's
Jeez.
unbearable. That's like, I was like, oh, I can't even. I mean, I reached out to my text, but what do you say to that, man? You know, like I can't.
Yeah. Well, there's only thing that you can. I'm here. You
Yeah,
know.
that's what I said. I'm like, hey
I'm
man,
here.
I'm here. Sorry, I'm sending my love to you, positive vibes and all that jazz. But I was like, I don't even know how to say it. Like it's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. I mean, you have to. It's like I'm here to help in however I can help, and
Yeah.
just let me know. I'll do what I
So
can.
that is like the whole this whole week has been. And then my friend's a cop, and I don't know if you guys know about the Miami-Dade situation. There was a cop that was shot in the head 2 days ago. Like all this shit. Like, so I'm, I was like, wow, there's a lot of fucking heaviness going on. And but a lot of it put things in perspective to me. It was like, dude, you had your friend for 13 years.
Mm.
It was his time to go. And again, logically, I always knew this. This was never like, oh, why is he going? It's like, dude, this is his time.
I will tell you, as someone who has been as a career around death a lot,
Right.
like it's not. I don't know if I'm desensitized or if I'm ever like it doesn't really impact me, but I've seen it third hand. Like from
Right.
as a perspective, as a like
As a
what's the
viewer.
word? Yeah, as a spectator, right?
Right.
Like I'm just watching it go down. I have zero skin in the game, and I've seen that go down a million times. I've also had been there for personal people, like personal people I know, friends, and people who have lost people. And I think that to say that there's a through line of inevitability, like, and this too shall pass,
Yeah.
for everything has made things like you put things in perspective, and then all it leaves me with whenever I think about this sort of thing is about like, well, positive, like there were positives. Their life is not only the end. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like there's ways to kind of shore up all of the darkness with the good stuff. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like where it's like, oh, 13 years is a long time for certain animals, and what a beautiful thing. I've always been lucky that my pets have lived long, where we get the choice. We have the opportunity to kind of control that. And to say that, like the times that like you weren't there for the end, but you were there for the beginning. You were there
Right.
for the middle, like, and
Right.
that is what was the point, like that's the point, the middle.
Yeah, no, all logically, everything logically and emotionally are separated. They're
We
it's its own.
inevitably, yeah, of course.
So
There's no connection.
I totally get. My wife had the opposite perspective where she was very distraught because she was there. She
Right.
felt that she did it. She was like, I'm sorry. She like kept saying, I'm sorry. And I'm
Yeah.
like, he was there, like like the fact that you were there, he loved you,
Yeah.
and he got to feel your love at the very end. I was like, that to me is a big deal. Like that's a win. I'm like, that's a win. I'm like, and I told her, I go, I'm simultaneously happy for you and jealous of you that
Mm,
you got to be there at that moment, and I
yeah, of
couldn't. I
course,
wasn't able to be
of
there, and
course.
but I get it, man. I get it. Like
And to her,
I've
I would say the same thing, that like the positive, even in that moment, the positives exist. That was and I'm not saying it to diminish. It's like the perspective. If you just zoom out a little bit, because very easy
right,
to
right.
like get like in your head, but if you zoom out just a little bit, what a privilege to be there, to have
That's
been
what I
there as
said to
part
her.
of the
Yeah,
process.
I said that to her. I was like, you had the privilege of being there.
Yeah.
He felt you at the end. Like that was awesome. Like I
There's
think
that
that's an
shit.
amazing thing.
There's that thing that makes me cry every time, where it's like, to dogs, we're like elves that live like 500 years, like that, like, like their
Right.
generations, I'm talking about,
So
like
true.
the
I haven't read that quote, but it's such a like it's so funny because yeah, like wow, these
yeah.
people with that. Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
like, that's why, like, there's like family, like dogs that's the like are shorter lived. And so to us, we're, they're shorter lived or whatever, but to them, we're like these long everlasting figures. And that's, so it's like it's kind of like an interesting perspective of like, well, that's why they have, family lines that will come, lady's going to be part of it. And then, if you decide to get another dog in the future, my brother and his family got another little doggy, and they're gonna be taking care of that one, and it's gonna be like passed down the line. You know, like
Right.
it's a generational thing.
Yeah. I've always said that. I've always, even for years now, I've been telling my wife, because dogs are fucking. I mean, again, they're destructive, and they're like, and then they're a hassle, and it's like, oh my god, this fucking how much food I gotta pick up a shit and all that stuff, and then they're not there, and you're like, oh my god, I fucking missed that so much, right? And but I've said this to my wife multiple times throughout the years. I said, when we're complaining, when either one of us are complaining about the dog hair and about, oh my god, and the vet bill and all this stuff there, I've in the middle while I'm complaining, I've said I'm never gonna not have a dog.
Yeah,
Like, that's never gonna not happen, because what the benefits far outweigh all this other bullshit. Like, like we literally have a vet bill right now from 2 weeks before Baloo passed away. There was a vet bill, like a very hefty one. Again, hefty for us. For Chappelle, he had
right.
but again, so it's like, but that's like, I looked at the bill today, and I was like, I would pay 3 times as much. I would pay out of it if I could just have him back, but I can't. I get it. I know. But there's a good in the spirit of that. There's a poem that I saw in a movie be read, because that's how I get any kind of literature, is from somebody in a movie's.
Hey, you didn't read it yourself. What do you?
Yeah. When a character in a movie is well educated, that's how I get my rocks off.
I sound smart because I repeated a movie quote.
Right, but there's a poem by E.E. Cummings called "I Carry Your Heart in My Heart," and it's fucking like just like immediately what I thought of when Baloo passed away. I'm like, there's always going to be a part of you that carries, like what you were saying, like from dog to dog, no matter how many dogs you have, there's always going to be a part of him or them with. I think it's a beautiful.
They're a part of your life, that is what it is. And technically, we're 280 years old in dog years.
Yeah.
So
it's funny. So that's another quote that's super cheesy, but it's so true. It's like, to you, the dog is a part of your life, but to a dog, you are their whole life.
Right.
And even now, I'm like, it's cheesy, right?
You're like, what a dumb. What? Yeah.
It's so cheesy. Like, it's so fucking brutal.
But you're allowed to. You're allowed to do that. According to Macho Man Randy Savage, I've cried 1,000 times and I'll cry 1,000 more.
Fucking video popped up on my feed the day after Baloo died, and I'm like, whenever I go to the gym, I'm fucking, to make myself accountable, whatever, fucking post the stories on my Instagram and like, hey guys, put in the work, blah blah blah, bullshit. And
hashtag.
I literally fucking made a story. I was like, so guys, I didn't even want to be here. It's like, I'm like fucking sweaty. I'm like, I needed the endorphins. I feel like Jim Carrey when he's like. And then like the next day I see the Macho Man. That video came up the day after. I was like, right, Macho? Right, Macho? You cry 1,000 because you saw the eagles and crawled with the snakes.
That's what if you were like holding it all together, and then that's the one that breaks you, or you're like, I was like, why isn't Harry crying at Randy Macho Man Savage? What the fuck? So let's go talk to him. Should we leave him alone or go talk to him?
That's actually my friend. That's where actually my friend Don texted me. He goes, "Hey man, are you all right?" Like, he saw my story before he saw the post about Baloo. He saw my story. He's like, "Dude, are you all right?" Like, you fucking like, he's like reached out to me. Like, I'm like, I'm not, but I will be. Like, that was another one I was in. But man. All right.
Well, you were, long live Baloo, long may he reign.
And in the spirit of that phrasing, because I am a cheesy guy, I literally have created a t-shirt with Baloo on it that and I just created it so I could purchase it.
Yes.
But it's now available on TeePublic. But it's one of those things where I'm like, I literally need to do this, and it's him with a crown and the whole fucking thing, and I was like, oh, he's regal. That's an inside thing that me and Missy used to say about, because we talked about how gray hair on women, like, why is it, gray hair on women is not good, but gray hair on men makes you look more distinguished. And I'm like, oh look, Baloo has gray hair. You're right. It does make him look distinguished. And we laughed about that for like the last 3 or 4 years. And so now we called him a distinguished, regal old man.
I'm telling you, like, you get to experience life on a small scale. It's such a like an interesting and wonderful thing to be a part of.
It's a microcosm.
Yeah. They're a little universe, man.
Yeah.
That's it. Baloo's a little universe.
Baloo's a little universe. All right, man. Thank you guys for checking us out. Check out the other podcasts on the Geek Bro Network that include, but are not limited to, Better Let Me Tell You, Chow Like a Best with Mike Valdez, Cramocopia with Jeff and Q, Kick Flicks. Coming back, baby. We're taking a little bit of a break, but we are coming back. And that's the podcast that we talked about at the beginning of this one, where it's a martial arts movie podcast with Mike, myself, and Jeff. And the next movie we're doing is Gladiator, the Cuba Gooding Jr. Gladiator.
Yeah. Not that Gladiator, the other Gladiator.
Not the Gladiator, but. By the way, I'm duplicating that joke. If you hear that joke on Kickflix, don't be like, "Oh, this motherfucker again." Damn. Fucking well-rehearsed bit. And check out
it's like the MCU. There's like a reference. Oh, there's a reference.
I got it. Like the Leonardo DiCaprio scene. There he goes. Such a good fucking thing. Love it, man. All right. Thank you guys for checking us out. Go to geekbro.net. Check out the other podcasts on the Geek Bro Network. That's geekbro.net. Thank you very much. We love you. Peace out.